Sup guys, I'm Kel, Red Zone Rogue, and welcome to another Force of Will Top 10 video. Now before we get started, I have a special announcement. I wanted to let you guys know that I officially have an affiliate link with Happy Little Hug Factory. That link will be in the description of every single video, and clicking it and making a purchase, or just clicking it in general and checking them out, is a way to help support me while also buying Force of Will product. I personally have bought from them, and I would not plug them if I did not believe that they had a great service. The prices are excellent, including booster box and singles, and they also currently have a 20% off all Force of Will Company singles, excluding Winds of the Ominous Moon. That's going to be going on through this week, and like I said, links will be in the description down below. Alright guys, with that out of the way, we're going to get on with the top 10, and by top 10 I mean top 11, because this is my video and I can do whatever the fuck I want. Winds of the Ominous Moon is actually a really sweet set. There's a lot of really cool cards in here that I'm excited about, and a lot of cards that have some pretty unique effects. And the first card I want to talk about is actually a pretty unique card and a pretty fucking janky one, but one that I really like a lot. It is Invitation to Valhalla. It is a chant for 1 darkness and 1 water, and it says, search your hand, deck, and or graveyard for up to 4 cards and remove them from the game. If you search your deck, shuffle it. So at face value, this card kind of does nothing. You kind of need stuff to synergize with it. Maybe you're playing the Allosaurus ruler, maybe you're playing some weird Yggdrasil stuff, but I know this card is something that can be broken eventually. It just has a really cool effect, and I love cards like this. One thing you can do, just off the top of my head, is you can play it with Velsavarian Apparition, which is a 400/400, and when it's put into your main, or when this card in your main deck is removed from the game, you put it in your field. So if you have 4 of these in your main deck, you play Invitation to Valhalla, you just get all 4 of them on the field for 2 will. That's really sweet. I very much look forward to seeing like what people can do with Invitation to Valhalla in the future. I think it has some potential. The next card on the list is in contention for one of my favorite cards in the whole set. This list is kind of in no particular order, just so you know. Time Reversal is a chant for 1 darkness. It says, draw a card, put a mystery counter on your J-Ruler. That is super sweet. Raya needed a card like this, something that generated a mystery counter but also replaced itself, and for 1 will, that's really cool. But it also has this really sweet awakening, where you can remove 3 mystery counters from your J-Ruler, and at the next end of turn, recover all entities you control. So that's all your magic stones, all your resonators, all of your additions, everything. That is super sweet. You can set up like a really good tempo control turn where you play this, draw a card, put a mystery counter on your J-Ruler, maybe play a resonator, maybe play a really powerful chant, and then at the end of the turn, you recover all of your stuff so you can react to your opponent on their next turn, maybe playing a quick cast removal spell, maybe playing a cancel spell. In any case, I think Time Reversal is a very sweet card, and I'm definitely going to be playing this in a Raya style deck, and I think it might be something that can hopefully tip Raya over the edge into like the competitive playable area. We'll see. The next card we're going to talk about is Resuscitating Will. This is a chant aura with quick cast, and it costs just 1 light, and it's a pretty simple card. It says recover target J Resonator. This card is awesome. Basically lets your J-Ruler attack twice, lets any of your Resonators attack twice. There is no downside to it. I mean, it doesn't replace itself. There's no like card draw on it, but I think this card is really sweet, especially if your J-Ruler has a cool like rest ability. Just keep in mind that it says J Resonator, not Ruler. So it can't recover your Ruler only if it's a J-Ruler or a Resonator. But this card's sweet. I'm definitely going to be playing this in my IU deck, and I'm sure there's a ton of other stuff, ton of other builds, ton of other decks you can play this in. I think this is a really sweet card, and one we will see a lot of play. The next card is Glint of Insight. This is a chant mystery for 1 darkness. It says, name a card. Your opponent reveals their hand and discards all cards that share a name with the named card. Then you can remove 2 mystery counters from your J-Ruler. This card in your graveyard gains Remnant until end of turn. So this kind of has like almost a flashback style ability that Magic the Gathering has. Basically, it gives this card a Remnant if you remove 2 mystery counters from your J-Ruler. That's pretty cool. The top abilities also pretty cool. This is very reminiscent of Cabal Therapy in Magic the Gathering, and that card sees a ton of play in every format that it is legal in. And I think Glint of Insight has the potential to see a lot of play as well. Next up, we have a really surprising and really sweet Resonator with Inheritor of the Stars, Gill Lapis. He is a 1000/1000 for 2 of any, a darkness, and a wind. He is a Resonator Vampire Human Guardian. He has Flying and Barrier. He says, this card cannot be cancelled if your J-Ruler is Gill or Gill the Gifted Conjurer. And it says, at the beginning of your main phase, put a mystery counter on your J-Ruler. So that kind of alludes to the fact that he's both Gill and Rhea's son, which is super weird for like lore reasons. And it's also kind of weird for like gameplay reasons too. It kind of like gives you a bonus if you're playing Gill, and also gives you a bonus if you're playing Rhea. Maybe this is a really, really good Epic Stories card where you can play 2 J-Rulers at the same time. Maybe this is really good for like a Gill Rhea Epic Stories deck. And he also says you can remove an elemental in your graveyard from the game and produce 1 will of any type. And you get to put a +100/+100 counter on this card. Play this ability only once per turn. I think this card is actually really powerful. A 1000/1000 flying and barrier that can't be canceled is just really, really good. You don't even need the whole mystery counter part. I think this card is going to be fantastic in a Gill deck, and that is something that I'm looking at. I really want to make a Gill deck, and I think this card is excellent, and it should definitely see some play somewhere. It's going to be a limited powerhouse for sure. The next card we have is Raid, the Black Owl. This card's a little innocuous until you see its other side. So this is a 500/700 for 1 darkness and 1 of any. He's a Resonator Beast. It says this card cannot be attacked, and at the beginning of your main phase, invert this card. So it kind of protects itself, so you can invert it. I do not know why it doesn't have flying. It should probably have flying. It's an owl, but whatever. I digress. And on the inverted side, we have 0. Just 0. She's a 800/900. Remember, the other side only costs 2 will. She's a Resonator Human Inverse. She has flying for some reason. I mean, it's cool, but the other side should have flying too. Anyway. It says, entities you control gain whenever this card is targeted by a spell or ability. Cancel that spell or ability. This ability triggers only once per turn. And that's for each entity you control. This is awesome. This card just protects your entire board. It's in a very efficient body, 800/900 for only 2 will with flying. This card is incredibly powerful. I have a feeling this will see a ton of play. Yeah, just keep an eye out for this card. It's going to be all over the place, I imagine. Next up, we have Vivian, the Envoy of Rebirth. I really love this card as a Magic the Gathering player because this card is Eternal Witness. Except it's like a little bit more powerful than Eternal Witness in terms of attack and defense. So this is a 600/500 for 2 wind, 1 of any, Resonator Fairy. And it says, when this card enters the field, put target non-Magic Stow card from your graveyard into your hand. That's really sweet. You get anything back from your graveyard. You can get a Chant, you can get a Resonator, just anything that died earlier in the game or that you use. This card is super sweet, especially if you have a lot of like cheap costing cards or cards that you like to banish to get their effects or just anything at all. I think Vivian is really cool. It might be too slow for Force of Will right now, but it could fit into some niche decks, could fit into some fairy decks. I just love this card. I think it's a really powerful effect, and I think it can definitely see some play somewhere. Oh yeah, the next one. This one's really sweet. So this one is the Kingdom of Diversity Light Palace. It's an addition for 1 light and 1 water. It says Resonators you control gain +100/+100 for each different race among all Resonators you control. So if you control like an elf and a human, all of your dudes get +200/+200. That's super sweet. And then it also says Resonators you control gain flying, swiftness, first strike, precision, barrier, and or drain as long as you control a J-Ruler with that ability. This card is sweet. You can make like this crazy like tribal soup deck probably in Wander with like Adam Brawley and with like Alice's World and just a ton of sweet stuff. Maybe like a Gwyber turbo style deck. This is awesome. I love this card. I definitely want to brew around it. I think there's a lot of sweet possibilities with this. It might not see any play immediately, but I think there's a lot of potential here, and it's kind of unique, which is what I really, really like about it. Next, we have a really sweet like water removal board wipe type spell with the Last Thunder. So this card is a chant for 3 water. It says this card gains quick cast as long as it's in your hand and the weather is thunderstorm. So it's, you know, even better in a Shayla deck, but you can play this in a not Shayla deck. It says search your deck, hand, and or graveyard for 3 cards named the Last Thunder and remove them from the game. If you do, destroy all non-Magic Stone, non-J-Ruler entities. If you search your deck, shuffle it. So this is kind of like a one-shot board wipe. It blows up everything except for Magic Stones for only 3 will. This is really, really sweet. I can see this being a very powerful control card, and I imagine this is going to see a lot of play. Just for 3, just to wipe the entire board, It's fantastic. Alright, so this card is actually my favorite non-ruler card from the whole set, and that is the Distortion of Time. So this is a chant for 1 water. It says, look at the top card of your deck, you may put it on the bottom of your deck, then you draw a card. That in itself is a fantastic card. Just a really good like card selection, card filter type of deal. A card like that in Magic the Gathering. We've seen a lot of cards like that in Magic the Gathering, by the way, with like Sleight of Hand, Ponder, Preordain. This is that kind of effect, and it sees play all over the place in the most competitive formats in Magic. I have a feeling this could see play in the most competitive formats of Force of Will. However, that's not all. It also has a God's Art, which is pretty crazy, right? This chant has a God's Art. It says Chrono Break. For 1 water, 1 time will, and 1 will of any type. It says remove this card in your graveyard from the game. Your opponent skips their next recovery phase. Play this ability only during your turn. That is so sweet. You can just have it just sitting in your graveyard, and then right when you need to, bam, you can play it, and your opponent has to skip the recovery phase, maybe like lock them down. It's almost like taking an extra turn. Just remember that God's Arts can only be played once per game. Not once per game per card, just once per game, period, for that specific God's Art. I know that the Time Spinning Witch Ruler can kind of break this rule. Once again, this is a card that I'm really excited to play with. I hope I get a full playset of these, because this is the kind of thing that really makes me want to play with the Time Spinning Witch as a ruler, and just maybe in some other decks. We'll see how it goes, but I'm eager to try this one out. Probably also going to look really, really sweet in full art. And the final card I want to talk about today is probably no surprise to you. It is Ciel, Ancestor of the Priestess. So this is a J ruler. Well, this side is the ruler elf. Judgment of 1 wind. Energize of 1 wind. At the end of your turn, attach target aura in your graveyard to this card. So the ruler side on its own kind of does nothing, but it does have a judgment cost of only 1 wind, which is really important. When we flip to the other side, Phantom Wind Feathsing. So yep, Feathsing's back. This is really, really sweet. I love the art. I love kind of the flavor, how you have both of the cats. But it's a J ruler, elf. She's a 1000/1000. When this card enters the field, choose up to 1 for each aura attached to this card. So you kind of build auras on the ruler side, and then you J-activate, and then you get like this kind of like big explosive play with all these auras. So what do they do? So the first ability is you get to put 4 +100/+100 counters on target resonator you control, or put 2 400/400 Wind Spirit Resonator tokens with flying into the field, or recover up to 3 target magic stones. That's awesome, by the way. Or you gain 1000 life, or you draw 2 cards, which is also awesome, or this card deals 800 damage to target J Resonator. So that is a very powerful assortment of abilities. You can pump a dude, probably one of the lowest power level. You can put 2 400/400 bodies on the field with flying, so it's 800 power and toughness worth of dudes with flying. You can recover 3 magic stones, so you actually net 2 stones with this ability, because it only costs 1 to do the judgment. You can kill a guy, you can draw some cards. Like this is actually pretty crazy. And that's not all. It says this card gains imperishable as long as there are 3 or more auras attached to it. So you want to definitely do this with 3 or more auras, so you can get the imperishable, so you can actually do it again. And then it says when this card is destroyed, remove all auras attached to it from the game. So you kind of like build up auras to it, have this big explosive J activation where you have all these abilities. Then if your Feathsing dies, then you just gotta, flip it back over with the imperishable and do it all over again. I'm really excited. I'm definitely gonna be making a Feathsing deck. If I get one of these rulers in my boxes, I will definitely be making a Feathsing strategy video. Keep an eye out for that, because I'm pretty excited. I think it's a sweet card, and I've already begun brewing some sweet builds with it. So there you have it, guys. That was my top 10 wins of the Ominous Moon video. I hope you guys liked it. I'm actually curious what your guys' favorite cards in the set are. Maybe I missed some. Maybe I'm kind of undervaluing or overvaluing some cards. I might be. A lot of these cards are just cards that resonate with me that I think are just really cool in general. Not all of them are like super competitive or super powerful. I picked some janky ones. We definitely have a bunch of Winds of the Ominous Moon booster box openings on the horizon. I'll see you then, guys.